So that's what we see there. Should I sit like this, Marcus, maybe?
No.
Perfect. Andreas, what do you think?
Like that.
Shirts off. No, I think.
Oh my God.
I think you and I shirts off, and Almir shirt on, pants off, like Donald Duck.
Why have we got to take our shirts off? Why is that always the thing with you?
Donald Duck style.
Hey.
No.
No.
Not
Let's
today.
not today. Next time.
Next time. All right. Just as a personal favour, because I do ask this in every video, and actually I might put it at the start of the video, could you ask everyone to subscribe to the channel, please?
Yeah, please subscribe to Red Archer Live's channel on YouTube and on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Almir's OnlyFans.
Hey.
Now there's our exclusive scoop. That's coming. There you go. Also, just to make sure that, because you guys, you might not give the accurate answers, so I'm making sure that we are ready. You've got to give the honest answers, or else there's going to be trouble. Okay?
Noted.
Alright,
Noted.
I'm keeping an eye on them.
Are we live now?
Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special interview recorded live in person at Starbreeze Studios office in Stockholm. Thank you very much, guys, for having me. I really do appreciate it. But we are here for an interview with the Interim Game Directors of Payday 3, which is not their only role. They're two very busy people. So why don't we start with you both introducing yourself and letting everyone know, or reminding people who you are and what you do.
I can start. Welcome to the studio, by the way, Troy. Good having
Pleasure.
you here.
Thank you.
So my name's Almir. I'm the brand director and head of community here at Starbreeze.
And I'm Andreas. I'm the lead producer of Payday 3.
We did a bit of this when we had our interview earlier in the year, Almir, but now you're both here and now year one's come to an end. Just want to get a bit of a temperature check for the studio. What's the vibe like now we're 1 year into Payday 3's post-launch content?
We reached 70% positive Steam reviews, recent reviews on Steam today.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last few updates have been really positive for the games. It's
Yeah.
nice to see that's being reflected.
Yeah.
So they're feeling more upbeat in the studio, yeah?
Absolutely. I mean, that kind of recognition from the community, because it's the community that put us there, right? We had a terrible launch last year, and being able to be at a place where we're mostly positive now with the recent reviews is amazing. Because it reflects everything else we've been doing with the game during this period.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been an intense 12 months. It really has. But the team's pulled through. We've got some really cool stuff cooking in the coming months. So yeah, very excited about it.
And I think getting out the year one DLCs now, it's kind of a relief for us, because now that allows us to zoom out a little bit more and focus on like what's the coming vision, right?
Yeah, totally. So we have got a list of questions. Obviously, we're running to time. This being filmed in person, so I've got a set of questions. I have a bunch from the audience. I don't know how many we'll get through, so if we don't do many, I apologise. We're going to just get through as basically best we can. So we'll just keep going and see how much we can ask. So I want to just get a bit of a take just basically on the launch and discussing the highs and lows of year one. What's it been like over the last year, both from both your angles? Maybe more so yours, Andreas, because I've had a bit of yours already, but from both of you, what has the last year been like overall, the highs and lows of Payday 3? How's it been for you both?
I mean, like Almir said, we fucked up big time, right? It's been a really tough year, both for us internally and obviously for you guys and the players. But given where we are right now and the positive trends that we're seeing, I'm proud of our resilience and your guys' resilience and your patience. In terms of highs and lows, like we've made a lot of mistakes along the way, right? And for me, it's not about any particular lows. It's more about, I think a lot of the mistakes that we've made, they're bad because they feel unpredictable. Like Payday 3 has been seen as something unreliable.
Right.
And it's okay to make mistakes, but I think moving forward, we need to be more, like we need to do more due diligence. So that when we make mistakes, like they feel more honest, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now it feels a little bit like we're shooting from the hips from time to time. In terms of highs, like again, things are improving pretty steadily, right? And that's great. I think one particular high for me has been Diamond District. And the reason for that is we made Diamond District in a fairly short time period. It's a fairly small heist.
Yeah.
The concept is very simple, but it's a heist that feels open-ended. It's less linear than many of the previous ones, and it gives more player choice and player agency. And given the popularity of that heist, I think that really sets the stage for what type of heist we want to do moving forward into year two. So that has been a really good thing for us.
Okay. Are there anything to add?
Wow, yeah. I mean, it's been, looking back at it, it's been an unbelievable 12 months. I mean, leading up to launch, all the excitement, coming from Payday 2, that we wrapped up so well with the community, celebrating 10 years of content for that game. Coming into Payday 3 with all the anticipation, of the fandom, of the Heisters, of you. and others, of course, and then for the launch to happen as it did, like Andreas said, we really fucked up, and we've done our best since then to clean up and make sure that we have a game that players look forward to playing, that players are proud to let their friends know that they're playing, and all of that, right? And low points for me, I mean, obviously, launch was super difficult. Andreas and I sat here in the streaming room talking to you in the community at the time, and all of you watching who were part of Payday 3 at the time will know that it was very, very challenging for all of us, right? Because we want nothing more than make the best heist experience for you all.
Yeah.
And for us to stumble the way we did coming out of launch and having to recover in the intense way we've had the past year has really challenged the team, but has also made us grow closer together and has made us get an even better understanding of what makes Payday Payday. Because Payday is a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the important thing for us is to be able to understand what makes Payday 3 a worthy sequel to the Payday games that we have so far. And the high point for me, kind of like that, a weird high point is the Ice-T.
You fell down.
Exactly, that was definitely a high point.
Or when you missed the shield in Boys in Blue.
Exactly.
Like 10 bullets.
That too. And the interview with Ice-T, that was fun. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Chat was pretty crazy back then.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest hype for me was when we actually started putting qualitative, quality of life stuff out. And Boys in Blue, for me, was huge. Because I could just feel when we played that heist together with the community that now we got it, you know? Now we found that thing again that makes Payday into Payday. And since then, I think it's been amazing. And I think the Steam reviews that we mentioned earlier speak for that, but also the players' reception and the discourse that's been happening on Reddit and elsewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely been an upward trend the last few months with the updates.
I do think so, yeah.
Yeah, whatever's been good or bad, there's always been more good than bad, I feel like, in the recent updates. And that's the most important thing, right?
It is, yeah.
So let's talk a bit about your interim roles. So we need to stress these are temporary, the game director positions for both of you, right? This is not permanent.
Correct, yeah.
So how did that come about? Did you both offer to take the position? Was it just put upon you? How did that come about, you two becoming interim directors?
We were asked to by the studio.
Okay.
And of course we want to, because we love Payday. And I think anyone who's interacted with myself or Andreas during all of these years, I mean, both of us have worked on Payday for the past 12 years together in leading roles, Andreas being a producer, myself being a brand director and head of community. It was just a great opportunity for us to show the community how much we care about Payday.
Absolutely.
I agree. And at the same time, like, obviously there has been some evaluation tied to it, and the reason for that is, I think for both of us, it's important that, you know, you have to put your ego aside, and, like, for our careers, sure, it's a good thing, but the most important thing is, does it benefit the team and does it benefit the game? And that's the sort of evaluation that we made. But again, like Almir said, given that we've now worked on Payday for 12 years, right? It felt like a pretty natural thing to do, to take more creative responsibility of the game.
Yeah.
And we're coming up to 13 years now.
Yeah.
In January.
Feeling old yet?
But that's the thing, you know, you can work on one game for a year and you can already run tired of it. But I still love Payday. I still have so much passion for this world that we've built together, and I want to see it flourish.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why Almir Gaming exists, isn't it?
True that.
There you go. So we will talk about year 2 more specifically later, but just as an overall pitch, what is the vision for both of you as game directors? What kind of goals are you setting for the future of Payday while you're in this position? What is the Almir and Andreas vision basically for Payday 3?
We're having a lot of discussions around that right now.
Right.
And as our, responsibilities to step in a little bit more, I think Almir and I are having really good constructive discussions with the team. I value transparency a lot, especially when you're in such a tricky situation that we're in. And I think one of the core issues that we have with the game right now is that Payday 3 is in sort of a split personality.
Right.
So if you, just to take that into perspective, if you look at Payday the Heist, that is a pretty realistic, more grounded experience. It has a different tone where, the heist and the narrative is really the center of it. Whereas Payday 2 shifted more towards a power fantasy, right? Where the chaos is the thrill, and the heist is sort of the backdrop, and you want to feel like this unstoppable criminal force. And I think one of the issues with Payday 3 leading up to launch has been like being somewhere in between, having like an identity crisis where we're trying a bit to cater a bit to both, but it sort of waters down the experience. So if I play the game and I try to look from the perspective from someone who wants that more grounded experience, the game feels a little bit too chaotic. Whereas if I look at it from the perspective of someone who wants to feel like that unstoppable criminal force, it's a little bit too bland.
Right.
And I think a lot of the choices that we've made has put us in that spot where it's somewhere in between, and it's sort of, it makes the game feel scattered, and it leads to over complexity and so on. So I think like one of the key focus things that we're doing right now is really like what identity and what fantasy should we really lean into moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, and also we just transitioned to this new role, and there is already a lot of things that have already been decided on that are great for the game, right?
Yeah.
That the team are currently working on, right?
Okay.
So it's not like when we arrive, we go, all right, tear everything up, we're gonna redo everything. It doesn't work like that, because a lot of things take months and months to develop. So there is already a lot of groundwork being done by the team. That's been amazing. One of the things being Armor 2.0 that Mio has been designing, who's now still a senior designer and a valued member in the team.
Yeah.
I think personally the Armor 2.0 system is like everything I could possibly dream of.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And I remember reading the comments on the subreddit and elsewhere when it was announced. People were ecstatic. Like if this works good, then it's going to be amazing. And for me, it just feels great coming in to a team that is already doing these kind of great things, right?
Right.
It makes our job easier because they also understand what makes Payday tick. They also read the forums. They also understand what the players want to see in the game. So I think we're in a really, really good place. Coming out of the last 12 months, having released 12 DLCs during that period. And the reason for that is because we sold the Gold Pass editions at launch. We had to deliver to the Gold Pass owners. We did that. Thank you so much. If you are one of those watching who purchased the Gold Pass, we salute you. Thank you for that. But even the Silver owners as well, for that matter.
Yeah.
So now as we go into year 2, things are going to be exciting for sure.
Sounds good. That sounds good. So going specifically, because I know we've talked about this before, currently the support agreement is up until March, but if we assume there's going to be a second year right off the bat, what kind of things can we expect? Is there, for example, going to be a year 2 pass? Are you going to handle content differently? What kind of things might we look forward to, both free and paid, for the next year?
We haven't announced any of these things yet because we're still working hard on making sure what to do, what not to do.
Okay.
Personally, I think when it comes to, for example, making another season pass, I'm personally against that.
Okay.
And the reason is, if we do another season pass where we promise a year's worth content that has to be delivered to a certain point, we put a lot of pressure on the team to deliver that content during that time. Because in a live service game like Payday, so many things can happen. Oh, suddenly this thing turned up and we need to spend time on that. But we can't because we've already promised them that we have to do this.
Right.
So you're really kind of setting yourself up for failure if you do that, in my opinion. And you're also making the team feel like they got a wet blanket over them when they're working, because everybody knows what they're supposed to deliver because it's already announced a year in advance. So that puts a lot of strain, I think, on the team. So I would rather have it like we did in Payday 2, where we just worked on stuff that we knew you guys would love, and then we announced it. Surprise, people got excited, they started talking about it. And that's that, you know? And there was never this discussion of, oh, will they shut down Payday development soon? I sure hope not. Because people were so used to content just keep on dropping. And that's what we want to do for Payday 3 as well. Yep. Our goal is to continuously work on Payday 3 for a long, long time. We've been saying this constantly for the past 12 months and even before launch as well.
Yeah.
And I think we've got the history to prove it.
I also think we have to acknowledge that, like, wrapping up year 1 doesn't mean that we're now, extremely satisfied with where the game is and now we're just going to put out content.
Right.
Like, there are still things that we want to rework, and something that we're looking at right now is the skill system, for example.
Okay.
Yes. No, commitment or date set to that yet, but it's something that we're looking at right now. And it's important for us just to take that with us into year 2. That there are still fundamental things that we want to address, and at the same time we want to put out new exciting content, right? I also think for year 2, generally speaking, we want to spread out content a little bit more evenly.
Okay.
if you look at the amount of DLCs that were released between June and September, like that was insane. And I think like naturally we had contractual obligations. We wanted to balance that with free content and so on. But if we weren't in this position, I think we would have spread out that a little bit more evenly and, focused a little bit more on quality and more focused patches rather than like overwhelming content bursts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even just speaking from the first 6 months of 2024, there wasn't that much in the way of updates anyway. So spreading out and having more things in between, that sounds good.
More predictability.
And
being more reliable.
A skill system rework sounds good. You probably can't say much. Is that like a skills 2.0 in the way that we've got an armor 2.0? Is there much you can even tease with regard to that?
I mean, the reason we call it armor 2.0 exactly that is because it's a big overhaul.
Right.
And we'd love to do something similar for skills. It's nothing we have announced yet, but skills is a big system.
Right.
So if you want to overhaul that, if you want to improve that, you can't just change one skill and be done with it. You actually have to look at the entire system and go, is this working? If it's not working, why is that, and how can we improve it? And most likely we'll have to do system-wide changes in order for it to improve.
Okay.
But we'll see.
Sounds good. More on what you were saying there, Andreas, actually works really well into the next question, because there has been an argument that even though it's not all of it, a lot of the content that's come out recently has been DLC. Now, granted, as you've said, that's contractual obligations. So going into year 2, is there more of a plan to perhaps better balance the free and paid content for Payday 3?
Yeah, I think we have to. And to your point, like if I look at the content that we have released over the past 12 months, I would say that there is a pretty good balance. So you have 4 DLCs, right? And that's 4 Heists, 4 Tailor Packs, and 4 Weapon Packs. But in terms of free stuff, there has been 3 Heists, one of them being the most popular one right now, which is Diamond District, 2 characters, a bunch of weapons, the Overkill weapon, like 30 masks, progression revamp, solo mode beta, server browser is coming. So there's a lot, but to your point, I think we crammed way too much in a very short time period.
Right.
So our ambition is absolutely to, again, spread it out more, but then balance it between paid and free.
Yeah, because it's understandable. You want the free content for people who can't afford to pay for the DLCs or want to just see new things added, but you've also got to keep the game running, right?
Yeah, precisely. And that's the thing that we are making games in a real world where money is needed in order to continue making games, right?
Yeah.
And we want to give away, as I've said in multiple streams in the past on our behalf, we want to give away as much free stuff as we can. But the stuff that isn't free for a reason. And it's because we have to finance all the free stuff as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've kind of touched on it with the skill system, but as we've said, Armor 2.0, that was unanimously loved. Loads of positive feedback, very little negative from anyone, really. We said there's possibly going to be something similar for skills without confirming it too much. Exciting. Are there any other systems you're looking at overhauling or giving more love to, like weapons, for example, or the favor system gets some things like some critique and improvements? Anything else you're thinking of looking at beyond skills that you can tease at all now?
I think like there are. I was about to say there are so many systems, but I can give a couple examples of stuff I'd love for us to have a look at. It's the weapon bars, for example, going into weapon numbers, favors, like you're mentioning. I don't think are being used as much as we'd like to, but we haven't announced what to do, when to do it. But those are obvious for us that these need more love.
Right.
The only question for us is prioritization. But when? When can we act on it? Because we're doing this now, we're doing that then, and so on. So it's all a question of priorities as well. And I think this is important for the community to understand as well. Of course, the community understands a ton, but I want to remind you all that we want to improve all parts of the game, right?
Yeah.
We want the best heist experience possible. But we can't work on everything at the same time. We have to try to be as smart as we can about where to put our resources in order to get things out the door. Because we can't just go into an isolation, work on the game for 2 years, and then come back with a huge update.
Right.
There won't be a community to enjoy it then, right?
Yeah.
We have to try to figure out how can we keep feeding the community new stuff while at the same time working on larger things in order to improve the game.
And I think adding new features and reworking different aspects of the game is one thing, but then also I think it's important for us to zoom out and really look at how we design things from a more holistic perspective. And what I'm getting to is, right now, I think we're seeing that the general engagement in the game isn't as high as we want it to be. Like, we're pushing out a lot of new content, but players consume it pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I think generally we have to look at more reasons for you to stick around and more reasons for you to feel like, I want to play another round because I want this thing, so on and so forth. So
Totally.
that's something that I think is key for the game long term.
Okay. So one of the last ones from me, just before we get to the community questions, got a couple more things to round off. I just want to check in with a couple of future features that have been talked about or delayed and just see if there's any new comment or if it's same situation as before. First off, roadmap updates. Now, you've kind of said a bit about already not giving pressure to the developers. Is the roadmap something you're going to continue to update, or is that something you're going to maybe rest for a little bit too?
We'll see. I think it's so circumstantial whether or not you can produce a qualitative roadmap that will remain exactly the same for a long time. We had the same ambition initially during Payday 2. Maybe some of you remember who were there at launch, but we had something called the Starbreeze timeline at the time, right? Where we were supposed to share details leading into the future. But we quickly realized that this is impossible because suddenly there was a John Wick deal happening and we were like, we have to add John Wick to the game now because there's a new movie coming out with Keanu Reeves and we have to add him to the game. What are we supposed to do then?
Totally.
Update the roadmap, reveal that. I'm not a super big believer of roadmaps because for me as a gamer, it can also take away the interest and engagement that I'll have when something actually drops, because I've known about it for months.
It's true, yeah. I've seen people in my community say they're more excited for one update or the other based on knowing what's coming. So that is, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
I also think, and I think you and I agree on this, we should talk more about the future, but less so in a way where we like commit to the coming 6 months. Like, I want us to talk about the game like we're talking about it now. Like, we're talking about skill reworks, right?
Exactly what I was going to say.
We haven't committed to that, but it's something that we're thinking about, and we're very keen on doing something like that. And that's the kind of communication and relationship that we want to have with you guys. Yeah. Just talk about things more openly.
So, exactly. It's much more interesting for us as a community to talk about what instead of when.
Yeah.
Because when? As soon as possible. That's for anything we want to do, right? We want to get it out the door as soon as possible to you guys.
Yeah,
But
totally.
what is much more interesting to discuss. Okay. And maybe why as well. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of other things, probably shorter answers I expect, but any update on the microtransaction store that was delayed to 2025? Is that still currently delayed? No updates there?
No updates, yeah. We haven't communicated anything regarding it.
That's fine. And the Unreal Engine 5 upgrade, any changes there, or is that still next year as well?
Still no update to the community regarding it.
Totally fair. What about Legacy Heists? Any information you can offer? Any more of those coming? Oh, come on. Any teasers? Anything you can say?
No, I can't say anything.
Can I take the as more are coming without you saying more are coming?
You can't take it as anything. You can take it as...
What we can say is we see that people want more of them. People seem to appreciate them.
First of all, bank. What?
Panic room.
I'm gonna keep asking for the bank heists. Everyone knows this.
But then you have to tell Almir to stop pushing for big oil.
One of your favourites, that
Cut
isn't
the
it?
interview. Cut it.
No, but they're also really interesting for us to do internally, because I think, as you mentioned in one of your streams recently, they're not remakes. They are reimaginations, because Payday 3 is a new game, right? So we're always looking at them from the perspective of like, okay, what made this good? How can we sort of translate that into Payday 3, right? And that's always, it's super fun. Because it's trying to make something new, but then you have this aspect of nostalgia tied to it as well.
Yeah. And it's also keeping a balance there between new and legacy content in that case.
Yeah, totally.
Because I've seen a lot of comments as well from the community where they go, I don't want to play a heist I've already played thousands of hours. I want to play new heists.
Yeah,
so
that is fair.
It's the balance between those two.
And on that note, anything else you can say with regard to characters coming, both returning ones or new ones you're going to create?
There will be more. There will be more characters to join the gang, but who, what, when, we haven't said anything.
Well, at the very least, we know Prospect 3. There is going to be one coming, at least assumedly fairly soon, because that was teased on the That's going to be your go-to now, and it scares me. Need to remind you, I still have this.
You've obviously hacked into Dragon's computer, right? Because we haven't said anything other than there being 3 folders on his computer. But from a narrative perspective, in the world of Payday, what we did was that we introduced Dragan again as kind of like the Payday gang's detective in a sense.
Right.
He is, for better or worse, not joining the Payday gang as of now. Instead, he's working with Shade in order to locate and track the rest of the gang.
Okay.
So that's what you're getting at. And what happens, who he locates, who knows? We'll see.
It would be really funny if at some point one of the prospects was just tracking himself and he goes, I'm sick of this, I'm coming in now.
Yeah.
I think people do want Dragon back. I know he's quite popular, so it'd be good.
And we love working with Dragomir Mrsic, a fantastic actor who has nothing but love for the Payday franchise and the community, more so.
I know people keep asking for one character in particular, and I'm not going to say the name because everyone knows it, but that was a blink for help, that wasn't it? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, final question before we wrap up and head over to community questions is just a talk of collaborations. When we had our chats last year, collaboration is something that were off the table completely, pardon the pun, for the first year.
Yeah.
First year's over now. Any plans now, or are you kind of waiting a little bit on the collaboration front?
A few weeks ago, we did a collab with Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
I think it was very popular, where we added the Dallas and Change to Rainbow Six as skins, if you will. And of course, we'd love to do more collabs, not only with Payday 3, but with the franchise overall, with the Payday franchise, essentially. For Payday 3, that's something that was important for me before we launched the game, as well as you, I believe, that we weren't to do any big brand collabs during the first months of the game. And now, as we're going into year 2, I think we're able to open that up more. And I think players are going to be much more appreciative of that content when that drops then as well.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Still want a Batman collaboration, Andreas?
Why not? I think the game is getting into a place where we can start doing this more. And to Almir's point, like one of the main reasons we haven't done any collabs is why would that's not going to help the game if it's broken, you know? But since we're seeing an improvement, I think we're starting to get into that space where at least there are some things that would be interesting and valuable for the game and you guys.
Yeah. And it's also important to say, we referenced the Steam reviews going into mostly positive, and we did because it happened today. So it's very actual for us. And it is a small win for us, because obviously that's only the recent reviews. There are still a lot of players out there who have a very negative reception towards the game, and we want to address that, of course. But this is the start of the comeback. Ever since Boys in Blue, we have seen a steady increase of people liking what we're cooking.
Yeah.
And we want to continue that trajectory.
Yeah, totally. Sam, that's all my questions. That's why I'm quickly scrambling on my phone, because I have a big long list of community ones. We won't get through them all, but we'll get through basically as many of them as we can. So first question we'll pick is from Oni, who wants to know, will there be more polls for fans to influence upcoming content, such as the vote you did for Mask of the Week when that was first added?
I think it's a great idea. I think we should do more of that. Masks is a great example, and not just content itself. Like when we talk about reworks of existing features and so on, we'd love to do more betas. Like do more temperature check, do it together with you guys. To what extent and on what level, we'll have to see. But it's absolutely an ambition that we have stepping into next year.
Okay, next one comes from Marcus, and not the lovely Marcus who is watching us at the minute. Say hi.
Hello.
There you go. Marcus wants to know, do you plan to keep the cadence of roughly one update per month during year 2?
So the cadence right now has been, I think it's between every 4 and 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
We don't have any commitment yet into year 2, but we do believe that a similar cadence is key to keep the game relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's been a good pace, one a month. It's something to always come back every month and check in and see what's new. Yeah, definitely. We have another one from Mochi, who wants to know, will melee weapons make any kind of significant return to Payday 3? Any plans or discussions for that?
Does Mochi like hurting other people?
I don't know, maybe.
Do you, Mochi?
Maybe.
Leave
a comment.
With melee weapons. I think melee system would be awesome, but it's exactly just that. There is currently no melee system in Payday 3, so we would need to develop that, right? And the question then is, like I've been asked before on stream, why don't you have a melee system? Yeah, but you also got to do it right. We can't just add a melee system that the community hates. We've been there in the past with features, and it just adds extra work for us. So if we do it, when we do it, it needs to be really good.
And you also face the problem that as soon as you add one, the spoon questions will start coming.
Yeah, but the spoon question is eternal.
There is a golden spoon in this studio, by the way. If I'd have thought on it, I brought it along. I can't believe you have a giant one next to your desk.
Yeah. It was given to us by a fan.
There you go. So it haunts them.
Yeah, and it plays music too.
You gave it to yourself?
No, it's out there.
What music does it play?
I can give it to you if you like. Okay. I think it plays, I can't remember the song, but it plays some kind of music when you press a button on the spoon. Yeah, you can go check it out later. Yeah.
It plays.
Exactly.
Moving swiftly onwards, Spring would like to know, what's the current state of the modding policy that you said you were going to talk about a year ago? Any plans to give any official support or any kind of word with regards to mods for Payday 3?
We don't have a big update regarding modding today for this interview, but our general stance is that we love modders. We love the modding community. We've been as supportive as we could have been for Payday 2 and the modding scene there. I mean, Payday 2 has over 50,000 mods made to the game. And we, of course, want to see modding flourish for Payday 3 in the future.
Hopefully we'll hear something soon then in that case. Brilliant. Okay, next one then comes from Shane. This is a question I've seen popping up a little bit more. Obviously, Payday 3 is not the only game you're working on. You've also got Project Baxter, which is planned to come out currently in 2026, right? Which is the Dungeons & Dragons game. Shane would like to know, is Payday 3 support going to be at all impacted by Project Baxter as the development speed begins to increase and build up towards that game's launch? Should Payday 3 players be worried that the dev team might shrink and that might impact content for the game?
I think players should should focus on Payday and Payday 3. And they should instead look at, if Payday 3 isn't fun, then why should we continue work on it? If Payday 3 is fun, then we should work more on it. You know what I mean? It's more that. It's not so much that, they're doing different games, that has to mean something negative for Payday. No, I mean, Payday has to be able to stand on its own 2 feet. And if it does that well, it can be anything. Right. But if we don't, if the trend would change and people would start liking the game less and less, then yeah, we're done with the game. Because why would we spend our time working on a game that the players don't want? But we do see players wanting more and more Payday 3. I really feel there's been a shift since Boys in Blue, since the early summer days when we released that heist, and with everything going on since then, with the next update we've got cooking, with the quality of life updates, server browser and all that, it's a really, really exciting time to be a Payday fan. And if all goes well, players will come back, they'll have fun, and they'll show us that they want more. And then we'll be able to push even harder.
As you said famously, if they like what you're cooking, support you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sounds like you know we're oversimplifying it, but it really is that simple. If you like the game, support us.
We have one from JJ the Twisted Jester. What a name. Wants to know, will outfit customization ever be possible? So either having preset colour options like the Payday 2 tailor packs, or a full customization system like weapons and masks have. So for instance, applying the colours you can on guns, maybe to suits. Any plans in either of those roads or something else for suit customization?
It's funny you would mention that. We actually had a meeting earlier today with the team where that came up as a talking point. How can we improve customization and so on? But again, it's a question of priorities for us. We only have so much time right now to focus on things that we want to get out before end of the year.
Okay.
What can we do then, and so on. And then if we can't plan that in for the end of this year, then can we move it into next year and see what we can do then. But I'd love to have more customization options for the outfits especially.
Yeah.
I think the game generally needs, and again, this is not a commitment, just talking very openly about our thoughts on it. The game needs more creative freedom and deeper customization and not rely too much on the amount of content.
Right.
Like, I think moving forward, ideally, we would look at the customization systems that we have and see how can we give players more options and freedom within this so they can express themselves, more uniquely, as opposed to, here's a set suit and now you're gonna, what the fuck?
Oh wow, we've lost a light.
Someone go, please.
It's all live. Thank you, Marcus.
So deeper customization would be great, but again,
the room agrees.
yeah, there's a ghost here. Who's ghost?
Baines.
The Ghost of Bane.
Okay, I think it's Take Dale's You has asked, can you both name one thing that you're proud of with Payday 3 and also one thing, not that you're not proud of, but you think maybe could be improved?
Almir's aiming.
Let's talk game specific, so we don't get any.
In my case, that would be the minigun. Yeah. No, I think. No, I actually love the minigun because I think it's such a Payday 2 weapon. And I think it's done brilliantly by the team in Payday 3. I think it has the weight and just the fact that you see in third person when someone else picks it up, and that you can pick up someone else's minigun and just it's just I love the feature.
What would something be that you'd improve then in that case?
With the minigun?
Or anything else?
Give me a different kind of ammo for the minigun.
Ooh, yeah, ammo types we do. Yeah, ammo types
yeah.
would be a good thing to buy. Andreas, what about you? Something you're proud of, something you'd improve?
Proud of, again, I think it's tied to Diamond District and that sort of evolution of the heist. Because again, heists is the bread and butter of the game, right? And that's something that we constantly want to improve and evolve. And I think Diamond District was a really good exercise for us, and I think Noli put it pretty well where he said, like, it feels like a microcosm of, you know, what Payday is really about. So that is definitely still a high for me. Lows, again, I don't have anything in particular. It's just like we've had so many frustrating moments that felt so unnecessary because we were moving too fast. We didn't do our due diligence, and I just think we need to zoom out a little bit more moving forward and be more mindful of what type of decisions we're making, and especially why. Like asking ourselves more, why? Why are we doing this?
Totally. And I think you make a good point because both of you talked a little bit about legacy heists and how, you know, you don't want to have, Almir specifically saying, you've seen comments saying you don't want too many old heists, you want new things. I think Diamond District's actually a very good example of adapting something from Payday 2 because it's almost a combination of obviously 4 stores and say jewelry store.
Yes.
And it's not really either of them, but you can feel both of them in it. So that's also a good way to say if there's a certain heist you don't want to do a full legacy of, you could then mesh it into a new idea and then it still feels familiar.
That's a very good point because I think like something that we really want to do, no matter what type of fantasy and identity we lean into, we don't want to rely too much on nostalgia neither, right?
Yeah.
But looking at the prequel and the concept of heists within that context and then trying to understand what made this good and how do we translate that into a modernized version of the game, right?
Totally.
Which would be Payday 3. That's super interesting because then you really find that natural evolution of the experience.
Another one then from Dominus Raptor. Will Akimbo weapons ever make a return?
He also likes hurting people.
This is a first-person shooter, in fairness. Give him a little bit of credit, you know? I mean, why do you think you have these guns lying around? This isn't mine, obviously. I took this from their armory. Very cool. Very heavy.
It's not a real gun, just to be clear.
Yeah, it's not. Strike a pose, Almir. Go on, just before we do the... Oh, there you go.
Is that how you hold it?
Andreas, what have you got? Go on, one each. We're going to answer your question now, but... Perfect. That's the make love not war pose.
Yes.
I like that. So yeah, Akimbo weapons. Any plans, thoughts?
I love Akimbo weapons in Payday 2. I think it's more of you know, of course we'd love to do Akimbos. The only question is when in that case. Yeah, so it's nothing we've announced or anything like that, but it is Akimbo weapons, yeah, there's a special kind of heister who likes that.
Well, it's part of that power fantasy you were talking about as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, bigger guns, bigger bang, more guns, more bang.
Yeah, and when it comes to Akimbo specifically, it's also a question of like, how do you do the system justice? Is it always the two same guns? Can you mix and match? How do you balance that to make sure it isn't overpowered?
Right.
And so on and so forth.
We're getting through quite a lot of these actually. You might get most of them done. Ash Williams has a question. I've seen him still pop up a lot, but I have a feeling I might know the answer to this already. Have you got any changes and plans for a safe house for Payday 3?
I've answered this on stream as well.
Yeah.
Where we've essentially just said that we'd love to do a safe house, but if we do, it needs to be a really qualitative safe house. Because we did a safe house for launch for Payday 2. It was not loved. It was the complete opposite. We then went back into the kitchen, continued cooking for a couple of years, and then we released a new safe house where we did a narrative hook with Hoxton setting the old safe house on fire, representing the community saying fuck off to the old safe house, and then moving into the new one, and then also having John Cleese pop in as a butler, Old Stone, you know, yeah. So I think that's why it's so beloved and why people are asking for it in Payday 3, because they want to see something similar. But that was no easy feat. That was done in the post-launch, and it took a lot of effort from a lot of people in order to make it happen.
Well, I think you've already teased a skill system possible look into. I mean, I speak for, I hope, a lot of people in saying that would be a bigger priority anyway. So it's about balancing things, right? What's more important? Yeah.
And I mean, we are so many developers on the team, and if we look at a safe house and a new skill system, some of those developers would have to work on both systems. So then we have to prioritize. Okay, so which one should we prioritize?
Totally. Yeah.
The safe house as a concept is super interesting, and it really fits the
fantasy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But again,
totally.
it's based on where the game is today. We, at least internally, we don't see that as the highest priority right now.
Fair.
But it's an interesting opportunity for the future, for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, Snipes is your daddy. Wants to know, and this is a good point because your initial, I know obviously we've said roadmaps now and year one plans, all that, maybe not for the future, but that year one roadmap originally teased seasonal events for Payday 3. Obviously, Operation Medic Bag took the main responsibility for the first year, but now that we're coming towards the end of Operation Moneybag, we're looking at year 2. Snipes is asked specifically about a Christmas event, so obviously that specifically, but can we expect anything more in the way of seasonal events in the future?
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. I've been involved in all of our seasonal events for Payday 2. And for me personally, it's hugely important. Of course, it is for the team too. But again, it's a question of priorities in this case. Like you said, Operation Medic Bag has taken a large priority this year. Soon it's going to be wrapped up successfully, hopefully. And then we'll look to the future and see what we can do. But I know the community loves these.
Yeah.
Whatever we do on April Fools, Halloween, Christmas, there's always something fun with Payday going on.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good as well because they add a lot of situational humor, right, in a high stakes context, and I think that added a lot of soul to Payday 2. So to Almir's point, it's absolutely something that we're interested in doing in the future. Yeah.
Well, since Nick Shipka Moment on Twitter has provided an image, I'm going to show you both this image and then ask a question. You can see it on the screen as well. When are these...
What are those?
Oh, come on, you know. Is this you playing coy like with Houston?
Yeah, Payday Twitter man shared that picture with the community and asked them, do you Heisters still want this? And there seems to be a lot of Heisters that think they're good.
Which, if people don't know, if you weren't around or missed the news at the time, this is by a fashion designer called Bam Bam, right?
Yeah.
So
and ochre-style suits,
Yeah, so these were shown off at, was it a New York fashion event?
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fashion expert.
But like you said earlier, Operation Medic Bag has taken priority over a lot of other things.
Totally.
So this is something we want to do, but we haven't disclosed when, if so.
So it's still planned to be added, basically.
Yeah, we haven't said otherwise.
Yeah. Good. Okay, that's fine. We're going to do one more question. Well, I'm going to get two. This is from Tired Swiss, who I have to give a special shout out to. Is the person behind a lot of the recent thumbnails, pictures of Dallas and all things that we get in there, all the memes. So thank you to that.
Great. And a great Joker video, by the way. That was amazing to watch.
He didn't ask it, but I know he wants to ask this specifically, so we'll ask first. Any plans to add Jokers to Payday 3?
I think Jokers just like inspire or like such power fantasy skills that are very Payday.
Yeah.
And it goes back to Andreas' initial point where, you know, Payday 3 has a little bit of an identity crisis. Does it want to be like Payday 2? Does it want to be like Payday the Heist? Or does it need to be something completely different? But I think Joker is Tired Swiss way of saying, I'm nostalgic about this feature. He likes the fantasy of being able to convert cops. And in that video I'm referencing here during the interview, he makes a pretty good narrative case as to how it works.
He does,
right?
yeah.
So instead of having the cops join your team and start killing their former colleagues, they would then just put them to sleep with a tranquilizer gun, which I think is a great way to spin it. And it just goes to show, again, the beauty of this community. Tired Swiss, great example. Now this is a real shout out to you. Not only are you supporting Troy with his content on the Payday channel, but also being such an active member of the Payday community and on Twitter especially. I think there are so many people like Tired Swiss out there that just have so much love for the game, and that's why we continue doing this, and that's why we get so excited when the game goes into mostly positive, because people like him are seeing us and they're validating our work and showing us that you're on the right path. Just continue pushing forward.
Absolutely.
Word.
So, his main question then, and this is a long one, so we'll finish with a nice bit of reading for the final question. He says this: Payday 3 is going for a new style, which is understandable, but it does also somewhat lack the feeling of trying to match Heat, which has always been the main inspiration of the series. Are you guys looking to add a little bit more of that Heat style back, whether it be through voice lines to tell hostages to stay down, full bank speeches from Heisters, colour correction filters, more Heister interactions, giving more hybrid loud stealth possibilities? He listed a few examples. So just some general ideas, basically, to give more of that Heat vibe back to Payday 3. What would your thoughts be on that?
I think that's, again, really tied to Payday 3's identity, right? That we're now talking about, and the sort of split personality that it has. We're all very keen on leaning more into whatever, like, core fantasy and identity that we want to pursue. Whether that's Heat or something else, we'll see. But more immersion, more atmosphere, added voice lines, interactions, whatever it is, no matter what type of fantasy you lean into, that's going to add to the game, right? So we'll see. But Heat to us doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be gritty neither. I think there's a lot of different aspects of Heat that we can inject into the game, right?
Yeah, I agree. First off, Heat is the main inspiration for the Payday series when it comes to films. Absolutely. It's a great film. And I think it's a great film because it has so many elements, so many layers of what it means to be a career criminal. It has the seriousness, it has the humor, it has the action, it has the violence, it has the civilians who are not supposed to be hurt but are still hurt.
Right.
Something I've shown on stream as well, sometimes.
Perhaps a little too often, yeah.
Things can happen. I've rewatched Heat a million times, but one sentence in the movie, one line always comes back to me, and it's that for me, the action is the juice.
Yeah.
Payday is all about the moment-to-moment action. I mean, Heat Street the Heist is literally inspired from the street action scene in the movie Heat. That's why it's called Heat Street. So, getting that visceral intensity back into the player's hands in Payday 3, and that's why I referenced the minigun, because for me the minigun is so, it's so heavy, it feels so good to use, and it's fully 100% action.
Yeah.
So that's Hit for me. It's action. Because when you watch that movie, it's a long movie, a lot of dialogue, but the action makes it go so fast, and you just go through the movie going, holy shit, what did I just watch?
Well, that's gone through a lot of the community questions, so thank you to everyone who left questions. If your question wasn't answered, I did get about 200, so I really do apologise. I've tried to include as many as I can. So to finish off, I just want to ask both of you, any closing statements, messages to the community, anything you'd like to say to wrap this up?
I'd like to do a call to action 2.0.
Get ready, everyone. Brace yourselves.
This time with him in the room. I want to let you Heisters know we are cooking. We have been cooking for the past few months. And when I spoke on this topic during the summer, it was a heated debate. Some agreed, some disagree with me, which is completely fine because that's exactly what the Payday community is about. So if you've been on the fence, wanting to be involved in the world of Payday, hang out in the Payday community, or even trying Payday 3, keep an eye on the coming months, because we are really, really doing some cool stuff. And both of us are super excited on behalf of the team to show that to you when the time is right. But yeah, I'm very excited for the game's future. And whether or not you like what we're cooking, let us know. That's the only way we can improve as developers.
I have no reason to add anything to that, because it's going to be worse. I agree. Let's fucking go. Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
We can do this together. Just recently I saw an interview with Chet Falishek, who's, by the way, I'll show you.
Oh.
It's funny. This mask right here, we've got a couch full of masks.
We do.
It has one signature. And it's Chet.
Okay.
One of the developers from Left 4 Dead.
Oh, okay, right.
So the reason he signed this mask, 10 years ago? Was because Valve helped us make Payday happen. Right. They gave us feedback on the game, they worked with us on the game, and Chet is a fantastic veteran game developer, and he was talking about Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Because Gabe was apparently telling him, the game has no story, what is the game about? And he said it's a game about helping each other, about working together. And I just think that so clearly encompasses what Payday is about as well.
Yeah.
It's a co-op game. You help each other rob banks and get paid. And that's why we say robbing banks with friends, right?
There you go.
Boom.
There you go. Well, thank you both very much for doing this. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Genuine pleasure.
Thank you for coming. Thank you to the Red Archer community for posing all your questions. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to the next time we fly you over or boat you over or whatever way.
Boat might be a bit harder, I feel like, but just as a personal favour, because I do ask this in every video, and actually I might put it at the start of the video, could you ask everyone to subscribe to the channel, please?
Yeah. Please subscribe to Almir Gaming.
Oh, for God's sake.
Please subscribe to Red Archer Live's channel on YouTube and on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Almir's OnlyFans.
Hey.
Now there's our exclusive scoop. That's coming. There you go. What's that going to be? What's going to be the tag
it's just,
for that?
instead of seeing his face while he's streaming, it's just a camera from a different angle and you see him naked while streaming.
I don't want to... let's not
And
talk about the
too much
angle.
information.
Let's cut there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep those helmets flying.
Yes.
Bye.
Good stuff. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Oh, thank you both very much.
Oh, we have one. I remember. Now I remember the...
Oh, hang on. I've still got the glass of water. Oh, go on. Grab yours. Hang on. Let's recreate it. Finish it off. Come on.
Oh, yeah, this is the...
Here we go. Ready? And... Here we go. And...
I feel so fucking stupid.
Hey, you are stupid.
Yeah.
I actually did it, and then you just turned to the camera.
Yeah, but I'm like...
gotta
Come
do it.
on.
I can't do it anymore.
Slurp, jeez.
Thank you.
you.
Oh god.